Welcome to Kenshi. We've had a lot of fun this series, but its time has drawn to an end. Much like Epstein's alleged suicide, it's time to put this dog down. But after our journeys together, it'd be a shame to not have any closure. So let's go through the list and find out, where are they now? Dirk Kolster, one of our lesser-known and newer members, went on to join Al-Qaeda, where he had a lucrative career planting bombs in political adversaries' cars. The Dutch farmer protesters ended up aligning with Al-Qaeda, and through aggressive acts of violence ended up getting their family farms back from the Dutch government. The Dutch are what? Dutchland? Poland? German? Fuck, I don't know. Netherlands, maybe? Why can't you just make your title similar to your country, damn Europeans? This is why nobody likes you. Anyway, yes, Al-Qaeda. After leading the farmers to glorious bloody victory, Dirk Kolster died in a cave in eastern Iraq. He died quietly amongst his infidel-hating terrorist homies. They chanted, praised Allah, and cremated his body, using his ashes to make gunpowder to destroy yet more infidels. Leonardo da Pinche became a ruthless gangbanger. He naturally joined the Crips because, well, Krab, right? Due to how ruthless he was, he quickly rose to the rank of Grand Banger. He was feared for the violent eating of his rivals, but goddammit he was respected. After years of living this life, selling hoes and heroin, the DEA finally got a case against him and raided his Crippy Crap compound. Leonardo fled the scene, barely escaping. After being on the run for many years, the DEA finally tracked him down and found him in a hole under a farmer's house, living off of worms and grubs from the local fields. Leonardo started pinching the DEA agents aggressively, and he was gunned down. They put so many holes into him that the body could not be recovered. All that was left was a pile of blue goo. Crip until the very end. Respect. Now, shortly after the last episode, Mr. Krabs disappeared unexpectedly in the night without telling anyone. Later, a wandering trader gave information about Mr. Krabs. Turns out he worked for the Holy Nation Intelligence Service the whole time. Mr. Krabs was a psyop. His mission? To make us all think that crabs are good, so the government can infect everyone with crab vaccines, and give us all crabs so that we're constantly scratching ourselves, and become too distracted to stop them and their milkshake-drinking mole people, allies who live in the hollow earth under the crust. They want full control. They want you distracted. They want you fighting amongst yourselves so the power grab goes unnoticed. Or maybe it's already happened. Fink sure thinks it's happened. But don't worry, guys. My CIA handler says everything will be fine. Just return to watching your regularly scheduled reprogramming. Old Footless Joe Jackson. After fucking a robot hooker in Squin, Joe came down with a virus that rotted his brain CPU and turned him into a psychopath. He then went around to various cities, kidnapping people and cutting off their feet. I guess he no longer wanted to be footless. After years of random defootings, suddenly the attack stopped. This stumped the local PD. No one questioned the end of the defootings. Then one day a random thread popped up on 6chan. It was full of photos of severed feet, with their nails neatly painted, and they were all covered in oil. Many think this was Footless Joe Jackson posting his collection of scrimps. Why were they covered in oil? Well, I'll let you figure that one out. Dark Lord the Holy Driller continued on as a cult leader, growing his influence and power. Many turned to the dark side and opened their hearts to him. His disciples installed themselves in holy nation cities around the world and eventually started a civil war in his name. Years of senseless violence followed. Families cast out of their homes. Thousands died. A grand famine extinguished the flame of the holy nation. Finally, after a long siege, the Dark Lord's armies were successful, and he founded the unholy nation. Turns out the Dark Lord is a master tactician and incredible statesman. From the ashes of a crumbled empire arose a new powerhouse in the world, where he created a utopia many flocked to, a strong economy, a steadfast foreign policy. It was truly a golden age for the world of Kenshi. But rampant corruption in the Dark Lord's inner circle began to sow a crack in the utopia. Elected officials became greedy and took bribes from various lobbying groups. selling out their constituents to afford a home in Nantucket. The Dark Lord attempted to purge this deep state from his lands, but by the time he had discovered its existence, it was too late. He was assassinated while riding in a carriage through bad teeth. The unholy empire did not crumble after this, oh no, but the deep state had taken over. They went on to brainwash the populace, gaining control over every facet of their lives, turning their men into whiny little puss-ass bitches, and their women into rampant sluts. Slowly, they all became sterile through one means or another. Snip, snip. It was truly, truly a sad time to be alive. Long live the Dark Lord, for in his love, all things are possible. Our favorite thick, dong-wielding boy elves returned to his local bar and continued on his drunken ways, telling stories to his fellow patrons of the good times he had with Matt and the gang. He ended up going bankrupt from buying booze and turned to a life of thievery and crime, just as he used to. One day, while giving a bro job to a man in an alley for money to afford a drink, he was gunned down. The killer was never found. The booze famine ended that day. After being a lifelong Democrat, Beatblade ended up becoming incredibly racist and joined the KKK. He had to wear a disguise the rest of his life, spending the early morning of every day putting on whiteface to blend in with his newfound Ocal homies. The ghost costumes aided him in this endeavor, and with his 4 robot limbs, he was able to get a human-like prosthetics. Beatblade went undiscovered in his new troupe for many years, working his way up to the rank of Grand Red Dragon. He was in charge of parties and orgies, which he excelled at. His parties were legendary amongst the clan. To this day, they still talk about the Harvest Festival doilies that he chose and how well they matched the duvet covers. He sure did have a knack for decorating and a real knack for racism. Eventually, while copulating with his wife Marjorie, his fake human penis fell off, prompting her to turn on the lights and see Beatblade in his full Hiver Nugget splendor. Well, she rallied up her cousin lovers and they had their own party. They strung him up like a piñata and beat him to death. But they still talk about that Harvest Festival fondly, so I guess his legacy lives on. Infinite Wang became a dancer and wowed crowds across the world with his fabulous poses. He gained fame and notoriety along with immense wealth. Nobles from the United Cities would book out his performances years in advance, and they'd pay top dollar just to see him strut his stuff. His hips were mesmerizing. His jazz hands were tantalizing. He lived a comfortable, lavish life and spent much of his free time doing philanthropy, helping out impoverished hivers who had recently been displaced from the hive. He would name them after his favorite glitters and taught them to dance. Now throughout the world at any city you can see his disciple hiver dancers shaking the junk in their trunk and making you drip with spunk. Wang never married nor had any children. He continued his philanthropy until his death, where he was surrounded by thousands of weeping friends and fans. After leaving the team, Josh the Unbearable found a new life, married and had many children. He started working at McDonald's to feed his 31 inbred kids. Oh, did I not mention that he married his granddaughter? Well, he grew up in a small town, what do you expect? After a long career at the local Mickey D's, he never made it past the rank of secondary fry cook. He could just never get the right amount of salt on those fries. He died quietly at home, surrounded by no one, because he was a shit father. Probably didn't help that his kids were so inbred they couldn't even fathom what death meant. They thought Grandpa Daddy just took a really long nap and forgot to shower. Because no one was feeding them anymore with McDonald's money, their downs took over and they ended up eating Josh's corpse. This made them terribly sick, and no amount of tism could save them. Josh's fucked up gene pool ended here with their deaths. Oh, our sweet Dilly. After gaining such an affinity for manning a turret, Dilly went around the world working as a mercenary guard. So immense was her love of poonin' people that she would simply work for room and board, not needing any money. It was a passion of love for her. She just couldn't get enough of pooning asses. Her skills were legendary, never missing a poon. It's even fabled that she could poon a bogey at 400 meters with one hand shoved up her poon. To this day, she still works as a pooner, looking for any excuse to poon that she can get. Don't fuck around in her small town, or you're gonna get pooned, bubba. Kang went out for milk. He hasn't returned yet. He must have run into traffic, but I mean, he'll be back. I'm sure of it. Little is known about Probably John's whereabouts these days. He's probably somewhere, probably doing something. He's probably happy and is probably surrounded by friends. He left the team shortly after suffering a massive case of deja vu, which was so strong he snapped and could no longer distinguish what was real and what was not. He left the team shortly after suffering a massive case of deja vu, which was so strong he snapped and could no longer distinguish what was real and what was not. But one thing's for sure, he is probably fine. I Love Him Hard ended up becoming a tranny. He went full-blown post-op, bubba. They them now spend their time packing their thussy with Costco Polish dogs. Yes, thussy stands for they them's trans pussy. I've been told that the doctors did an excellent job and it's darn near indistinguishable from a she-hers pussy, minus the lubrication aspect. But the doctors at the Surgeons Guild are cunt hairs away from figuring out how to link tear ducts to the thussy. So whenever they get plowed, it's with sweet, sweet, salty tears. The days of Astroglide will soon be over, and we shall usher in a new era of thuss. Our beloved Spicy stayed by Matt's side for many years, helping him out in his film career, which we'll get to in a minute. She was there to answer his every beck and call, but after years of receiving little in the way of recompense, she got fed up and left our protagonist. She settled down in a small house near the hub. She found a family and had several Czech children, all of whom grew up to the big bag mommy milking warriors of sexy stature. All daughters, of course. Each one jigglier than the last. Her family's yiddies are supple and firm. The heavies just won't quit. Her family name became known for their milk bags, and many travelers would stop outside of their house, standing in a bush staring at them through the windows while feeding the geese. But one day Spicy discovered 20 men in the bush all choking the snake and went into a blood rage, killing them all. She then installed walls and hasn't had a problem since. She lives there to this day, a simple life, a supple life. I love the term feeding the geese, by the way. Means jerking off. So many good terms for jerking off. So you got spanking the monkey, cranking one out, strangling the chicken, hiding the worm, milking the cow. Why do all these involve animals, by the way? It's probably a Freudian furry bestiality slip, perhaps. The one and only gimp, Dong Wiggle, loved his job tending the prisoners so much he continued his watch of them for many years, feeding them by forced suckling at his gimp teats. When he was a baby, they thought his yellow areola lactation was a defect, but little did they know it would become the life essence for many throughout the years. So intoxicating was this gimp nectar that those who sucked upon it would become addicted, fiending over it. More than a crackhead fiends over crack, the gimp and his slaves grew attached to each other. They even grew to love one another. Eventually, a certain trust level was reached, and he freed them. They refused to leave his side due to him being the source of the highly sought-after gimp goo they so highly cherished. They all wound up making a boy band together. They called themselves Nickelback. Even though they were very successful and had many hits, everyone hated them for some reason. This hatred constantly made the band doubt themselves. They would have to remind themselves who they really are. For the gimp, this reminder came by looking at a photograph of Matt, whom he still loved deep, deep within his heart. Eventually, the gimp wanted out of the limelight and left the band, but because the rest of them were addict degenerates, they in turn kidnapped the gimp to forcibly milk him of his ambrosia nipple excretion. Really came full circle. The gimp was now the prisoner, and his slaves were now the doms. He lived in chains, being sucked dry for the remainder of his unnatural life. And now, the man with the B-est of BCs, the one who started it all, Matt. He went on to have a lucrative career as an actor. Through his breakout role in the film Fast and Furious 743, he was awarded an Oscar and got voted in as the second best black actor of all time, second only to Robert Downey Jr. After struggling with his addiction to cocaine and cocaine accessories, he left Hollywood and used his God-given gifts of BBC, turning to porn. He used the surname Pejanus to mask his identity. Throughout his porn career, he starred in many hit titles, like Midgets of Fucktown 5, a Nugget's Quest for Spunk, which gained him massive amounts of fame, and was wildly known for sucking a fart out of 4 midgets' asses simultaneously. Now, if that's not enough to make you cream your Levi's, Bubba, well, I don't know what is. And he started an indie porn called 2 Nuggets, 1 Beak Thing. Unfortunately, he received a life-changing injury during the filming of 2 Nuggets, 1 Beak Thing. Turns out Beak Things' cocks are sharper than their beaks. He was split in twain and had to get a bionic bussy installed. His BBC was never the same after this. He eventually disappeared from his caretaker's home, and no one has seen or heard of him since. I like to think he's out there, living his best life, spanking gimps and fucking simps. But most likely he died in a ditch somewhere, We just may never know. I do hope you cats enjoyed this series, and will continue to enjoy the episodes to come. I can't thank you all enough for the support you've given me on this channel. Just watching the videos, liking and subscribing is all I could ask for. But if you want to do more, sign up for my Patreon or YouTube memberships, check out my Rumble to watch the same exact videos, and join the Discord. We just started doing D&D on there, so if you guys are fucking nerds, well, hey, bubba, you can get your elf cock sucked by a giant fat dwarf. I'm just saying. But as long as you cats are laughing, well, that's truly all the payment I need. With that being said, I'll catch you cats on the flippity flop, and as always, I love you, bye.